The road to earning the title fittest man on earth will likely go through this man. 2008 champion Jason Khalipa, who began his journey to the 2013 Reebok CrossFit Games in style today, setting a new world record by punishing Jackie. It was a strong opening statement as week 2 of regionals kicks off. We're kicking off too. The CrossFit Games Update Show starts right now.
Hello CrossFitters and welcome to week 2 on the road to the fittest, the 2013 Reebok CrossFit Games Regionals. Week 2 hosts action from Sydney to Sonoma. This is the CrossFit Games Update Show. I'm Rory McKernan and I am joined by the fountain of CrossFit knowledge that is Pat Sherwood and Nicole Christensen. Guys, thanks for having me.
Anytime you want. Seat's always warm.
What an exciting time to be a CrossFit Games fan. I went to sleep last night. I had a little bit of Australian leaderboarding going on. And then I wake up on the way to the studio. I'm actually streaming live. Miranda Oldroyd just crushing it on Jackie.
How damn cool is that? I'm surprised you're not jet lagged from Europe, but I mean, we finished doing this gig last weekend, and after Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was like, it'd be so nice to have, a day or two off. And by the time Tuesday rolled around, I'm like, all right, let's do this Friday. I want to know how 1, 2, and 3 are going to go down for these regions. So I'm an addict.
I'm not sure if very many people realize, but if you go back a couple years to 2007, you scroll down the CrossFit main site, you can find in a little clickable link, it says results from the 2007 games, and it's a downloadable Excel file. Now flash forward to today when we see streaming live coverage that you can find on your phone, on your computer. I don't know if people realize how far the media department has come, but they're doing huge things to help get the word out to the fans.
It's 2007, dinosaurs back then.
Not that there's anything wrong with Excel, right?
Right, no, and of course, nice gateway computer.
Now, we're a little bit biased this week, I think, because there's some people that are close to home here competing. I know it's NorCal, I know you're passionate about it. Break it down.
I'm just looking forward to seeing the bros throw down, right? We get the NorCal bro session, you've got Maddox and Pat Barber and Garrett, and of course the ringmaster, Khalipa up there, and Miranda's a bro involved in there. So they're close to home. They're 30 minutes over the hill, so they get that hometown feel. Looking forward to it.
Not to mention they can throw down some CrossFit.
Ooh, yes, they can.
So enough of the talk. Let's see some of the action. The NorCal Regionals have moved to the Sonoma County Fairgrounds, and the action today from the fairgrounds was outrageous, mostly based on one man, Jason Khalipa. Khalipa came out hot in Jackie to set a world record. Notice the travel on the row machine that he sent about 3 feet backwards. And then Khalipa, of course, people think he's going to auger in after a fast row, but he kept on going. Sets a time of 5:04, mind-numbing for such a big man. Here's you see Jason's finish, and clearly stoked, putting on a show for the folks there in NorCal. Neil Maddox is training partner for the last couple of years. We've come to find that Neil, we expected him to finish in second, but he's actually behind Khalipa by a bigger margin than we would have expected. Check out this overhead squat, makes 295 pounds look extremely easy. The man won the clean ladder at the CrossFit Games last year, so he can move some weight. And then you've got in third place Garrett Fisher, another training partner. 4 points, 14 points, and 16 points, and really anything from second place on is up for grabs. But Jason Khalipa, 4 points after 3 events.
Yeah, we have to remember a couple things. So first of all, there are 4 spots to send athletes to the games in the NorCal region because Jason is a past games champ. So if you look down the leaderboard at Neil Maddox, Garrett Fisher, and Pat Barber, Neil Maddox, Pat Barber both having previous games experience, it'll be interesting to see where Garrett Fisher plays out. But tomorrow we look at the hundreds. I know Neil is not happy with what happened in the burpee muscle up workout, and I think if you look at the time domains, he did well in the open. His abilities in the wall ball and the muscle ups, I think he could put something very well together for the hundreds workout, and we could see him kind of give Jason a little bit of challenge for the top spot.
It was the Jason and Neil show last year, and it's shaping up that same way.
Sure, well now it's the NorCal show, but Jason Khalipa, you got to give credit where credit's due. Most people just trying to get through these regional workouts. Jason has said explicitly he's coming to set world records.
One down, got a couple more to go. Just stay consistent, be confident in your training. I need to be confident in myself that I put in the work. This kind of stuff just doesn't happen by chance. You got to put in the work. If you put in the work, you can feel confident going in.
He's the 08 champ. He's been putting in work for a long time, but that's a pretty strong statement.
The guy's traps are blocking out the sun, for God's sakes, right? I mean, there might be some people on this earth, there are plenty, more athletic than Jason Khalipa, natural athletes,
fair
but
statement.
he, putting in the work. You will not outwork Jason Khalipa if he knows what the task is. Since the regional workouts were announced, he's done Jackie 6 times alone, and then, but more impressively, the hundreds. Arguably the most devastating workout we're going to see at regionals. I've known plenty of other games athletes I've talked to, and I don't know any of them that have done the hundreds. They've done the 70s or some sort of reduced version. Khalipa has done the hundreds not once, not twice, 3 times, and he had to be talked out of doing it again for a 4th time. This guy is a raging psychopath.
You can never be too safe.
No.
You got to know how you're going to do.
God, he's incredible.
There's some old faces back on the leaderboard for the women's competition that we're happy to see back, namely the top spot, who's being held currently by Ashley Caribou, used to be Ashley Varese. On day 1, she shows up with a 3rd place Jackie, 621, then ties for the overhead squat, 185 for a cluster. She's 2nd in the burpee muscle-ups with a time of 7:03, despite the wind blowing the rings around. China Cho is also back in competition. She tied Ashley at 185 on the overhead squat, 626 on Jackie for 5th place was good enough. And then she wins the burpee muscle-up, 642. She was the only woman in NorCal to finish this workout. Chasing these ladies down, we had Alessandra Pacelli, 2nd in Jackie with a time of 618. And then she goes 2 reps at 185 on the overhead squat. I don't know a lot about Alessandra. Excited to see her in competition. 704 on the burpee muscle up. Tied her for 3rd, and she ties with a short Annie Sakamoto. So you've got Caribou, Cho, and Pacelli about 4 points above 5th place Sarah Hopping, and Annie Sakamoto tied in there as well. So I know a lot of these names. I don't know anything about Pacelli. You do.
Yeah, Pacelli first caught our interest in the Open because she did really well, but we're curious if that would translate to regionals. But I thought it would because I saw her, and with her team, Diablo came out to do the Big Bob Challenge, which we had at the ranch out there in Aromas, the home turf, and she was a standout. They had to do some snatches, some muscle-ups, run down some hills, some wall balls, push that horrendous Big Bob, and no one was ever waiting on her. Let me put it that way, so I'm not shocked that she's doing so well.
Sure, and then what about Caribou?
Caribou, super cool story, right? So, she won the Open last year in NorCal, but couldn't compete. She diagnosed with cancer, so what could have been a obviously very tragic story is now a happy one because here she is, recovered and doing fantastic.
Sure. We got to give one more shout out. There's a young lady, first on Jackie, Miss Miranda Oldroyd comes out with a tremendous performance. It was so happy to see that.
What a durable athlete, right? Talk about what happened to Miranda this last year. Let's go down the list of injuries. She broke her wrist. She had her appendix out. She fell off a GHD, banged her head.
She broke her neck, for God's sake,
and she
dude.
broke her neck in a car accident. She's got metal plates holding her neck together. So after all of that in the same 365-day period, you'd be like, oh, it's great that you can tie your shoes on your own or feed yourself.
No doubt.
And she's winning Jackie.
Yeah.
So it's incredible. And
Yeah.
she's crossed it to get back to where she is now.
Yeah, she's an easy one to cheer for.
Yeah, and it's important to remember, too, in this region, we have Labaugh and Hester who took spots in the top 3 last year, but they're not back this year. So a little bit of a wide open bit of the region. Annie Sakamoto sitting in 4th. A lot of people always count her out. That 180-pound overhead squat that she put up today is outstanding, and she shouldn't be counted out. So whether you're in the top 6, top 8 in this region, it's only day 1.
Yeah, ladies in NorCal, fun to watch. Let's talk now about the teams where the returning champion from last year in NorCal, CrossFit 808, is sitting pretty on top of the leaderboard. They won last year. There was an unfortunate disqualification afterwards, and now they're back and making a statement. You see Elise Umeda competing on the team. They're followed by Rockland CrossFit, who's tied for points with CrossFit Santa Cruz after the day 1's competition, 3 events. Rockland CrossFit, 6 of their 8 team members have actually been on the team since 2011, making them extremely strong. Now, please appreciate the irony of this. Our home team, CrossFit Santa Cruz, in 3rd place, tied for points, and we've got no footage of them.
Well, it's just, 3 of them work in this media office, so why would we ever cover them, right? Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're just cringing at home, but
yeah, there's gonna be some questions answered when our little media crew gets back here.
We love you. Guys, we have a short break now, but don't go too far. When we come back, the CrossFit Games Update Show goes international.
The The CrossFit Games Update Show is brought to you in part by Progenics, the official performance nutrition sponsor of the 2013 Reebok CrossFit Games.
Yeah! All right, so I need more core to extremity. Yeah!
No.
Yes!
No.
Yeah!
Let's not scream like that.
Yes!
No.
You really want to come from the diaphragm and get it. Yeah! Yeah! Now kiss the baby.
Oh my goodness, Josh Bridges absolutely hammered those big guys. Woo! Unbelievable, look at this. Crushing the time by a minute. He took that time by a minute.
You always got to believe that you can do it. I tell that to people. It might not happen today, it might not happen this week, it might not happen next week, it might not even happen next year. But if you believe that it'll happen, you can do it, it will happen. It will. I know it will. I might not be the fastest, I might not be the most gymnasty out there, but I'll tell you what, I'm never going to stop. Ever stop believing in what I can do. No one can take that away from me.
Half a world and a few time zones ahead, Australia kicked off day one action at the Wollongong Centre just outside of Sydney. The women's competition is hosting some old favorites and some new exciting names in competition, but it's the Games veteran and the dominator from last year's regional, Kara Webb, formerly Kara Gordon, who finished the day in first. Second place on Jackie, then check out the fadeaway on 190 pounds. She just missed her last rep on the 30 muscle-ups for time at the buzzer. Then Pip Malone, the newcomer, sits in second place. Athletically, she has an amazing resume. She took fifth place on Jackie, 643, bags 195 pounds, and then 25 muscle-ups, good enough for second overall. Amy Dracup, who won this region in 2010, sits in third overall. She went team last year after failing to qualify, made a huge statement on the 30 burpee muscle-ups for time, taking first. So the overall women's leaderboard, very, very tight at the top. 3 points separate first from second and another second to third. And then just outside, the veteran Ruth Anderson-Harrell, just 1 point outside of the top three. Oh. Such a tight race in the women's competition. I wouldn't want to be involved in that.
Yeah, I mean, look at the depth of this field that has evolved over the past year. This is a country that loves CrossFit, and we're seeing it here in the women's competition.
And some of these names make sense to me that they're up there on the leaderboard. Amy Dracup, I watched her win her region in 2011. She missed it last year. Kara Webb won it last year, took 19th of the games, but Pip Malone. Yeah. I mean, the name itself is fascinating. She's obviously legit, like you said, a distinguished athletic career, had some cross-country in there, but the most fascinating thing, canoe slalom.
Who would have known that would translate so well into CrossFit competition?
She's gonna crush it.
This is a crossover from canoe slalom. It's amazing. Now, if you look down that leaderboard, I want to zero in on sixth place. Amanda Allen, she was first in the Open this year, and she's actually first worldwide in the 40 to 44 Masters category. We caught up with her after day one to find out where her thoughts were on competition after 3 events.
It was never in my mind to compete as a master. In fact, when I set out 12 months ago, that category in the Masters was not in existence. So, you know, for me, it's sort of a bonus. It's like money in the bank, but my heart is utterly set on making it back in top 3. And, you know, I'd never had more fun than in 2011 when I made it to the Games, and I just want to go back and have that much fun again. And yeah, look, the numbers look good for me. I just have to do the work this weekend, and I mean, there's so much drama in the women's world of CrossFit at the moment, and you know, anything can happen.
It's a pretty cool headspace to be in. You know you're going to California regardless the outcome of the competition.
Feel good?
Yeah, and this could actually impact her in a negative way. Given the fact that she knows that she can go to the Games no matter what, she might not be as concerned with that sitting in sixth place currently as she would if she knew it was all or nothing.
It is nice to have a fallback plan, but you know, I keep up with her blog a little bit. She is a disciplined, dedicated athlete. I mean, from the moment she gets up in the morning, you know, read her blog to the time she goes to sleep at night, she is obsessing about going back to the Games. So fallback plan be damned. I think she wants to be on that podium as an individual.
And that's what it's going to take to crawl back on a day like this, day 2 of regionals. She's got her work cut out for her. Let's move on now to the men, where the 9th place finisher from the CrossFit Games last year, Chad McKay, is really making a statement that he's ready to go back to California. And again, he's the defending fittest man in Australia. He comes out on Jackie and he takes 4th place overall. This is a big dude, 225 pounds. So obviously the rowing not a big deal for him, but jams through the thrusters and pull-ups as well. He also puts 285 pounds overhead for a cluster, strong lifts, with the widest stance that I've ever seen in CrossFit competition here. Pretty much taking up the entire thing there. And then on 30 muscle-ups for time, the most impressive for me, 5 minutes and 40 seconds for burpee muscle-ups for a big dude. But he's only 3 points ahead of Keegan Wolfenden. This is a new kid, never heard of him before, and he's making a very strong statement. Actually, 524 was very strong showing. He bags 275 pounds on the overhead squats as well. 31st place out of the open, surprisingly. Matt Healy rounds out the top 3. This kid had a volatile day 1, 8th place, 15th place, then 2nd on the burpee muscle-ups. And yeah, there you have it. You can't say enough about the flare. Kid breaks out the singlet, apparently to ease the tensions. He was nervous. He wanted to give everybody a little bit of a laugh and show him that he was a fun time guy. So McKay sits comfortably in 1st place. Then you've got Wolfenden behind him, Matt Healy trailing a little bit further behind. So 1st and 2nd place look a little bit comfortable, and then after that is pretty much anybody's race.
You know, when I see McKay sitting there, when I scan the leaderboards, this is my thought process. I kind of see, who event 1, event 2, event 3, and if I see you're the leader of a region and you have something outside the top 5 already in day 1, I'm like, we'll see where you are tomorrow. But I have to say, McKay's outside the top 5 for event 3, the burpee muscle-ups, taking 9th on that. As such a big guy, I was actually like, that's pretty damn impressive. And this guy was top 10 at the games last year, so that's instant street credit.
Yeah, forgive me for not evolving my thinking as CrossFit continues to grow. But I see a big dude and I'm like, oh, well, he's going to be good at weightlifting, but not the calisthenics, gymnastics, body movements, right? That's what it says.
And that's the CrossFit of 2009, 2010, where we would kind of categorize these athletes into the things that they would do well based on their body type. And now what we're seeing is that athletes have realized, hey, if I want to be good at fitness, I need to be good at body weight movement no matter what my size is. And I need to be good at the weightlifting no matter what my size is. So I think we're going to see that play out less and less, and athletes are just going to be good simply because of the fact that they have more fitness in them. One thing that we can't count out, though, in that region is that Rob Forte is sitting in 7th. Brandon Swan is sitting in 8th place. They had a terrible 3rd workout, taking 29th and 35th respectively. However, don't count them out just yet. Day 1 is wide open going into day 2.
Don't discount the veterans.
That's brutal. In the U.S., you've got a couple of states per region. These guys have a whole country. It's a big country.
Exactly.
And now the kids in New Zealand are also coming up, too. So, again, just like the women's, not a fun place to be if you're in the men's competition or anywhere in Australia. Let's move on. Let's talk about the team competition. The 2 top finishers from last year who went to the games, of course, 3 teams go. The top 2 finishers at the end of last year's weekend are sitting in the top 2 spots currently as well. Schwartz's CrossFit Melbourne, extremely dominant right now. They've got a combined 5 points after day 1. They finished 9th at the CrossFit Games last year, so not surprising. They're legit on the worldwide scene, not just in Australia. CrossFit Athletic just on their heels, actually. A 15:08 Jackie hurt these guys pretty bad, landed them in 13th place for a tie, so they're going to have to make up that ground. They're currently tied for points with CrossFit Horizons, who ended the day 3rd place finish on Jackie. They had a strong finish, 2 8th place finishes after the 3rd place tie. So Schwartz's CrossFit Melbourne way out in front by a country mile, and it looks like after that, look at those placements from 2nd all the way to almost 10th. We've got a very, very small point spread. So
just 7 points separate places 2 through 8th. I mean, in my eyes, those teams are all tied right now going into day 2.
But good luck getting number 1 and 2, Schwartz and Athletic, out of there, because both are Games veterans from 2012, so they're not going anywhere.
It's time to move on, guys. Heading west to a whole different continent altogether, Africa also took on day 1's workouts. We're in Johannesburg at the Ellis Park Arena, where there can be only one. Literally, we're only going to send 1 man, 1 woman, and 1 team to the games. And David Levy has made a strong statement. He wants to be that man. He's way out in front, 5:42 Jackie, 5:54 on the burpee muscle-ups, took 1st in those events. He's got a combined 5 points, and I really, to be honest with you, just can't see anybody closing the gap on David Levy.
I mean, it looks like Levy's running away with it, but don't discount second and third place. Again, I keep pulling out this card, but they're both veterans. You know, we had Smith taking 4th last year and Schultz taking 11th, so they know what it means to compete, and they just missed it, so I'm sure they're hungry for that one spot.
David Levy's making a strong case in my eyes. He dealt with 2 injuries, a back injury and a plantar injury over the course of the past 5 months, and he's making a tremendous statement. He worked on a bunch of weaknesses that he said he wouldn't have worked on had he not had those injuries, so I think he's stronger than he would have been otherwise, and we're going to see him hold on to that first place spot.
Yeah, and what I like to see is that even though he's so far ahead of the competition, I'd put him up against some of the athletes in the States, and once he got to the games, you know, he's legit and he holds his own. Let's talk about the ladies. Some more favorites from years past also doing well. Rika Diedrichs holding on to the top spot. Not surprisingly, she won Jackie. She was actually a rower in the Olympics, so but not the most tremendous time. She had 7:15 on Jackie. She put 160 pounds overhead for 3, and she was second on the burpee muscle-ups with a time of 7:13. She bagged 16 reps. But in the past, she's been all by herself, but this young lady right on her heels is actually making her work for her money. So Carla Nunes de Costa at 7 points, just 2 points behind Rika Diedrichs, and those two are going to be in a pretty heated battle, I think, today.
Exactly, and in short, that's where the race is. I mean, it looks like Levy kind of has this thing sewn up, but with just 2 points, fighting for that one spot, there should be a ton of excitement on days 2 and 3.
So the teams, we're down to two. We're down to 2 teams. Literally, it's a battle between 2 teams. Everybody else was eradicated from the competition, and we're going to see these guys go back and forth, but it's not exciting in my opinion. You've got these guys separated by just 1 point, and of course they can only gain 1 point in each of the coming competitions, so you're going to see them doing a little bit of leapfrogging. They've got their work cut out for them, certainly, and only one of them goes. You know that they both want to. The leader currently, the veterans from last year, CrossFit Platinum, so we'll see how this race plays out. On their heels, they've got CrossFit PBM. Just 1 point behind.
18 teams in this region did not complete the minimum work requirement and were eliminated after the burpee muscle-up workout, meaning that of those teams, you had to have 6 reps completed by each gender, and they didn't meet that requirement.
And I'm not worried about this at all, actually. I mean, we talked about how every year people improve and get better. Look at Rika Diedrichs from 1 year to another improving her muscle-ups. I mean, everybody learns. The teams are going to take a hard look at what they need to work on, be it getting under some heavy loading, let's work on our handstands, the muscle-ups, and I guarantee you when 2014 rolls around, this is not going to be the case.
Look at you taking the positive side.
You know, thank you. You know, kind of a half-full guy, you know what I mean?
It's half full, there's always a half a cup left for whiskey as well. We have a short break now. When the update show returns, we'll head to the best state that ever was, ever.
Not Jersey.
Texas.
Where
the Mid-Atlantic transplant Jen Jones is cleaning up competition, making an enormous splash. We'll also talk about Canada. Don't go anywhere.
Wardrobe for the CrossFit Games update show has been provided in part by Mizzen and Main. Tradition evolved.
The same way that CrossFitters have taken fitness to a new level, we do the same thing with the equipment.
Since being involved, owning affiliates, Rogue Fitness gear has made a gym owner's life that much better.
With CrossFit, they know what they want. And because we keep the work local in our shop, I can make changes based on their demands right away.
Do you have Rogue equipment? People look for that when they look at a gym. If it says Rogue on it, that's the mark of quality equipment.
I think what's cool is you only get better by training with other people.
The intensity level is high, the drive and the push is 10 times greater.
Some people might train by themselves, but we really represent like coming together as a community, pushing yourself. So it's this huge camaraderie and accountability.
When you feel like your mind is getting weak, it just gets you built up even that much more to push even harder when you see someone else going.
Regional action comes back to the North American continent, and we go north of the border to the International Center in Toronto. Canada's regional action in the men's department is dominated currently by the Games veteran Albert Dominic LaRouche. LaRouche on event 1 takes 2nd place with a time of 5:16, 2nd place again on the overhead squats with 275-pound cluster, and 1st in the burpee muscle-up. He's got 5 combined points after 3 events. His closest competition, Jean-Michel Rondeau, 2nd place at the end of day 1, A strong showing in Jackie took 3rd, 7th in the overhead squat, and 5th place in the burpee muscle-up with a time of 5:54. Again, Dominic LaRouche got a 10-point lead over 2nd place, but 2 athletes will go, and from 2nd through 8th, really, we've got a tight race. The big story, as always in Canada East, is the women. CLB, Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet, comes out, smashes Jackie and takes the top time, then 1 rep at 200 pounds on the overhead squat. Are you kidding me? Camille then goes on to the burpee muscle-ups, and actually the only event that she didn't take first in because this young lady had other plans. Michelle Letendre was the opposite. She took 2nd on Jackie in the overhead squats, then slaughtered the competition on the burpee muscle-ups. 5 minutes and 35 seconds. That's the 2nd best in the world to Sam Briggs. So these 2 young ladies have 4 and 5 points respectively. Look, they're going to the CrossFit Games, one of these 2 ladies. It's just going to be which one's it going to be. Now, despite the fact she didn't sweep all events, Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet was supremely confident after day 1 competition.
Oh yeah, it feels good to win 2 workouts on the first day, and I'm excited with the chest to bar tomorrow, and yeah, I'm pretty confident. Like I want to win this regional, so it's good that I start first.
I want to feel that confidence. I want to know what that's like. Is she allowed to be that confident?
That is a lot of Canadian confidence. But, I mean, we have to give her a little bit of credit. She's finished in the top 10 at the CrossFit Games for the past 3 years. So, yes, she's built a name for herself. On the flip side, we know that the Canada region, Canada East, is going to send 2 female athletes, to the Games. It's going to be Michelle or Camille. In what order they finish, I think it's a little bit hedging our bets to say that it's definitely going to be Camille.
And her competition, just talking about Michelle, is so legit, right? I mean, rewind the clock last year, Michelle beat Camille at regionals, and then Michelle beat her today on event 3. And then, Camille had that amazing chest to bar pull-up thruster workout in the open on 13.5. We're like, no one in the world could beat that, and it was beaten. So I think we're kind of counting our chickens before they hatch, or our Canadian geese, perhaps.
You have to remember also, too, that while Camille got 2nd in that workout, Michelle got 4th, just 2 places behind her worldwide. So they can both do chest to bar pull-ups.
It's going to be a battle.
And it's interesting to see how different they are as athletes, even compared to last year. 200 pounds goes overhead for Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet, and then you have Michelle Letendre doing that well on the burpee muscle-ups and beating Camille on that. Didn't see that one coming.
No, Camille's an amazing lifter, and her squats are through the damn roof.
Sure. Now, on to the team competition, where there's actually no clarity on who's going to be coming to California. The team competition separated 1st to 3rd is only separated by 5 points. CrossFit select your leader after day 1, a very strong showing on Jackie. They had an overhead squat combined weight of 1,200 pounds for 1st, and the burpee muscle-ups, they took 79. Lucene CrossFit. Jackie time of 14:02 was the 6th fastest, again 6th place on the overhead squats. Nice and consistent across the board, puts them in 2nd place overall, just a couple points behind CrossFit Select. So those 2 spots, there's going to be a tight battle for that. Unclear who's going to be in California.
And Lucene's a bunch of veterans. They took 33rd at the Games last year, but super cool to see Select occupying the top spot because they just missed going to the Games by 2 points last year.
Sure. Let's go from north of the border to the Republic of Texas, where the South Central region action kicked off, and one of our transplants from the Mid-Atlantic region, Jen Jones, is actually making a huge splash. We've seen this before where an athlete changed regions. There's a big power vacuum left by Azadeh Boraman moving out as well. So we're seeing an interesting finish for Jen Jones after day 1. She's got Jackie time of 6:25, good enough for 2nd place, then bags 1 rep at 195 pounds, takes another W, and then in the burpee muscle-ups, she actually gets it at the buzzer, makes her last rep, and gets to the podium, and she takes the W in that one as well. So she's got 2nd place in Jackie as her only finish outside of the top, or her only finish outside of 1st. So a very, very impressive statement that she's making down there. 2nd place, Cassidy Lance in the black t-shirt. 6:22 on Jackie, good enough for a win, and then 190 pounds overhead for 3, takes 2nd place. Holly Mata, I like this girl a lot. She was actually a backup kicker for University of Texas El Paso. She's played football, 175 pounds on the overhead squats. She missed the time cap by 1 rep to take 2nd in the burpee muscle up. So again, a tight cluster for 1st and 2nd. Seems like they're almost going to be on a little bit of the top 3 athletes on a little bit of an island, but Jen Jones is clearly your leader.
Jen Jones, while I am always hesitant to say that athletes look past the regionals, Jen Jones is looking to make a statement back at the Games. She won her region last year, but she placed 28th at the Games, and I know that that's bugging her. And so I think she's got a little bit more experience under her belt. She's going to get through regionals, and we're going to see a better performance from her at the Games.
It makes me so happy to disagree with you on a regular basis, but I can't on this point. I think you're 100% correct. Jen Jones, in my mind, is going to do what smallpox did to small towns in the 1800s. She's going to murder everyone in her path. She's going to be first by a landslide.
Oh, that's probably the nicest thing anyone's ever said to Jen Jones.
That's her new nickname.
So Jen Jones equals smallpox, and then unfortunately a sad story coming out of the women's competition. Entering the overhead squats in 4th place, we had a young lady who actually, on her opening weight, checked that left shoulder, or the left elbow there, pardon me. Amanda Schwartz dropped to her knees by a hyperextended elbow. Now, rather than leave competition, she chooses to shake it out, compose herself, see what she can do, and she tries the 175 pounds 2 more times. 2 more times. So you can see she's gritting through the pain. It was the second rep each time that seemed to kind of give her the trouble. And at the end of the day, the pain was just too much and dropped her to the ground. She actually left the Freeman Coliseum full ice on her elbow. She was going to get an MRI last night, and we're still kind of waiting to hear the results of how that came out. And I have to question you guys, or ask you the question rather. Is it prudent? I mean, was that the right decision for her to carry on in competition when she's clearly injured?
It's easy for us to sit here at the desk, calm, cool, and collected, and evaluate whether that was the best thing for her to do. But we see this in sport everywhere, whether it's Robert Griffin III, whether it was Kristen Clever last week. Athletes in the heat of the moment have to make the call based on what they know. And did it feel like a tweak to her? It might have. It might not have felt that bad. And she said, I'll try it one more time. Was it a bad decision? I don't think it was.
It's not. I personally think it's not for us here at the desk to say. It's not for some jackass on Twitter to give his 2 cents about. It's an individual decision. No one knows exactly what went on in her body and what she felt other than her at the time that it went down. And so it's on her as an athlete and a veteran to make that call. Maybe it's the old crazy military person in me, but actually, I really like it. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, and see, agree with you to a point. But if it was a tweak, I've never seen anybody drop to their knees like that and crumple in pain for a tweak.
She got back up.
She got back up. So I don't have the military experience, and I've certainly never been to regional competition. So maybe it's just me, but I think it would have been more prudent for her to pull out of the competition. But who's to say? We're excited to catch up with Amanda and see how her recovery is going. Hopefully, we'll hear from her tomorrow. Let's catch up now with the men, where one of our own, Chase Ingram, who is part of our media team, is actually leading the pack. They call him Captain America. He appeared in the games in 2010, and despite recovering from a shoulder injury, he logged 3 good reps at 265 pounds, and then he killed the burpee muscle-up event. Actually was on track to take the world record, but his last couple of recs came down to a couple of failed repetitions, and it took him longer than expected. Drew Bignall, former baseball player, new to my radar actually, but bags 285 pounds on the overhead squat, and he actually has a 149 listed Fran time on the website. So excited to see what this guy pulls off for the rest of the competition. Currently he's in 2nd overall, and in 3rd place we have Mike McGoldrick. He's made regional appearances in 2010 and 11. He smashed Jackie with 5:16, but seemed to kind of fall off at the end of the day with a 26th place finish on the burpee muscle-ups. He's anything but safe there. He's got 31 points to Bignall's 30, and then you can see behind him we've got 33, 36, a bunch of cats at 37, 39. No one's safe really after you get there, and even Chase is included in that. It's a very tight race for the men.
And Drew Bignall is a really cool story. On top of having that amazing Fran, in the past, he was hit by a drunk driver, hurt his knee, and he actually used CrossFit to kind of rehab and get into the whole sport that way. So super cool story there. But I have to call out the NorCal region. I was watching the feed today, okay, and someone there was being called Captain America.
What?
Incorrect. There's one Captain America. It's Chase Ingram. He's in South Central, so facts are now set straight.
Right,
Sorry.
Chase Ingram does
Had to get
have
that off
the
my chest.
Captain America Twitter handle all squared away. The thing that I love about Chase is that this guy has come back from an injury. That shoulder injury today, between the overhead squat and the burpee muscle-up workouts, he proved that that shoulder injury isn't an issue for him. And I also know that he's been a dedicated athlete rehabbing that shoulder over the past 2 years. To come back and be in 1st place after a 2010 Games appearance, I think is a fantastic place for him to be going into day 2.
And with total confidence, he wears skins on his arms.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
Rocking that kind of style takes balls, and I love you, Chase. I love you for it. Chase, not just an amazing athlete, actually an amazing coach as well. His team, CrossFit Dallas Central, is mimicking their coach. They currently occupy the top spot in the competition as well. Now, I'm going to throw out a lot of stats here. We'll talk about what they did, but the most impressive thing that they did all day, they missed the world record on the burpee muscle-up workout by just 4 repetitions. So 108 burpee muscle-ups on the day. Tremendous, tremendous effort from these guys, and they land in the top spot. They're not comfortable by any means. They're followed by Atomic CrossFit. who had a strong showing as well. I was reading on their website today, and actually they have basically a competition focus at their gym, so not too surprising that they're doing well. They had 13:23 on Jackie, good enough for 4th place, and 12:45 overhead was the top score of the day. CrossFit, Katie occupies 3rd spot overall. They're the 8th place finishers from last year, and of course they're sitting in 3rd after day 1. So got an 8th place finish in 11 points in 2nd and 15 in 3rd. And again, you've got kind of a runaway. You've got somebody who's standing alone, and then you've got a very tight race behind them.
I mean, CrossFit Dallas Central has made a statement, not only in the fact that they're in 1st, they've come back from the game, or they went to the games last year, but they returned 7 out of 8 of their team members. And
That's
a lot
impressive.
of times we overlook that. We just think, oh, a team's coming back, and it could be a completely different makeup of athletes. They have 7 of 8 coming back, and that killer performance in the burpee muscle up workout, to me, says that they have balance on the men's and women's side across the board, and we should see them continue to do well for the next 4 events.
You know, it's just about that time. Should
No,
we just stay up? I mean, Australia is basically about to kick off. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. Don't fret. We'll be right back here tomorrow to keep you up to date on the action around the world. And, of course, we'll be live all day on Sunday. So for Pat Sherwood, Nicole Christensen, I'm Rory McKernan saying good night. We'll see you tomorrow. And good night, Australia.